This is Steve Asheim from DEICIDE. You're listening to Heavy Demons radio show, so turn it up.
So, dear Steve, how would you describe the overall sound of Banished by Sin? Not that easy, I suppose, since there's a lot of variety in there.
Yeah, well, like you say, I think there's a lot of variety. I agree. We had a lot of writers. Everyone in the band did their share of writing, so that gave it this diverse field that it has, But I think that being said, it still has a unified DEICIDE sound to it, and I don't think that's just because of my drums are on there and Glenn's vocals. I think the new guys have adapted very well to the DEICIDE sound and style of death metal we do. Both of them grew up as fans of the band, so it was easy for them to kind of adjust to DEICIDE type riffs, and because of that, they have their individual flair of writing style, but it still falls nicely within the DEICIDE category. So I think in that sense it's diverse, but it's also familiar. I think it's a great formula. I think it came out great.
How was to work with Jeremy Kling from Inhuman Condition, and which were your targets in terms of studio production as for the sound of Banished by Sin?
Yeah, well, Jeremy is great. I've known him for a number of years down here. He's just a great kid, great drummer, funny guy, and very technically proficient at what he does in the studio. He's a great engineer. He engineered all the tracks down there. For the new record, drum tracks, all the tracking, he was there and engineered. So, and did a great job. He's very easy to work with in the studio like that. And so, it was just an incredible experience, and it was so close to home. So it was very convenient also. I think that helped with the album coming out so good, as no one was stressed over travel and hours and stuff. It was just cruise up the street a little ways, do our thing, knock it out, and be able to, wrap it up. But like I said, it added to the smoothness of the whole operation,
Which are your opinions about, Glenn, you already know them, but also Kevin and Taylor's lyrical contributions?
Yeah, well, it was like, I think, Kevin has written a lot of lyrics for Order of Eniad. He wrote all that stuff. So he's a great lyric writer in that sense. Mm-hmm. And so when Glenn was ready to accept some more lyricists, those guys were able to adapt their style of writing to kind of DEICIDE, whereas Glenn said, look, guys, if you're going to write some lyrics, make sure they are utterly satanic and hateful of God and religion, and make it fucking brutal as fuck. And I think, everyone had to laugh, but they both did a really good job at doing exactly that. I mean, both of their lyrical contributions are amazing. Like I said, Glenn said so himself. He's like, you guys did a great job at the lyrics. He's like, I'm proud to sing those lyrics as I would sing my own. Myself, I don't really contribute lyrically. I think, I've tried to contribute, do lyrics, and I can write lyrics. I mean, I'm not an idiot, but I think it's, they don't come out quite like DEICIDE lyrics. My lyrics are kind of good for like a punk band or something. Like, I write lyrics for stuff, and when I read them back the next day, I'm like, these are stupid. At least too stupid for DEICIDE.
Okay. Given the fact that I'm not interested to the debate of the AI-related artworks and so on, what can you tell us about the artwork of the album, and how was it conceived and realized?
Yeah, well, from what I understand is the label said, hey, we want to get a cover that is reminiscent of the first record, some kind of medallion or something like that. Yeah. And so working with, Glenn has a guy in, I think he's from Sweden, and he is a jewelry designer. And he's an artist, because obviously he has to craft the jewelry, he has to design the artwork for whatever. Anyway, So he asked this guy, hey, create a medallion for our work for the record, and then we can tie it in with jewelry that we're going to sell also. And so that was this guy, Nenny, I think is his name. So when people get all bent out of shape about how it's AI generated, like, I mean, we had a human artist design this thing.
Yeah.
An artist, you know, they use computer software to design it, and whether or not he ran it through some program to clean it up, I don't know. I mean, some people who know more about art than I do seem to have a real problem with it. Everyone's all up in arms about the whole thing, and I don't really understand why. I mean, I guess I see they point about, hey, you're, you know, an artist who whatever paints or whatever could have gotten paid. Well, you know what? An artist did get paid for this artwork. Our fucking guy Nenny. I mean, it's not like he's not an artist, you know. So I don't know what everyone's all up in arms about. I think people just like to have something to bitch about. And that's cool. I get it. I like to bitch too. You know. But anyway, that's my take on it. Is, you know, I think it's pretty cool. You know, I've heard plenty of people bitch about it. I've heard plenty of people say, I don't see what the fucking problem is. Anyway, we made super huge banners of the artwork for live, so everyone who hates it's really going to love that.
Definitely. You can actually play every instrument that can be used into a rock metal context. As for piano, how does this instrument influence your way of composing?
Oh, well, you know, piano is just an incredible instrument. You got every note laid out right in front of you. And it was very good for me learning piano. It really taught me about theory and harmonizing and counterpoints and all these different types of elements of composition that I have found really helped me in my songwriting. You know, how you approach a song, you know, it's not just rinse and repeat. It's like kind of the theory behind it is that a song should constantly evolve. Like, while there are things that are recognizable, it's not actually the same. It's like, so it sounds the same, but it's different somehow. In some way, the song is evolving from when it started. It's building up, it's changing, it's, you know, you put in a little bridge here and there, and even by the end of it, it's the riffs are amped up to a way that they were not in the beginning. You know, so I think that's what I enjoy about it, is that you know, you keep the song evolving and moving forward, and by the end of it, you know, as long as you create something that like changes every time around somehow, then you are building up the momentum, and like I said, that's how I approach it anyway. And I believe that's how, you know, piano studies and following these that age type of composer really helped at my songwriting. You know, I mean, if you listen to how the masters do it, you're gonna pick up on a thing or two. You know, so I believe I did. You know, I think my songs nowadays are better than when they are, you know, were then. You know, my songwriting has improved, I think, you know. Yeah, I think it's been a big help.
Yeah,
I'm glad. It's something I'm very glad I did. You know, it took a lot of time, a lot of effort, but it was totally worth it.
Which are your best and worst memories of the extreme metal scene of the early 90s, and how do you experience nowadays scene?
No, we've had some shitty memories to have to deal with. You know, we had that crazy shit go down in Sweden and Norway back when whoever the fuck that was bombed the show. That was a pretty shitty thing to deal with, and all the fallout from that. And anyway, and of course, you know, whenever we got to go through a member, you know, losing the Hoffman brothers was a big setback, and so then having to deal with you know, doing all those kinds of things, band replacement, that sucks. That's definitely a low point. That's why it's so nice to feel like we got a good solid lineup now, you know. Because yeah, I mean, we just want to be able to do what we do smoothly, without all these unprofessional interruptions and distractions, because it really takes away from everyone's concentration, you know. So I'm looking forward to having the next smooth few years, knowing we got a solid lineup in place.
Your grandparents were from Stavanger. After all of these years, which is your sincere opinion on the Norwegian black metal, both musically and as a cultural issue?
Yeah, well, culturally, they really took the world by storm. You got to hand it to them. I think musically, you know, early on, it was pretty amateurish, the musicianship and the playing, and I think that's kind of why they sunk to the violent depths they did, is to kind of compensate for that, which worked, obviously. And of course, musicianship got better, and their songwriting got better over time, and so. But like, so just a bunch of maniacs killing each other, you know, it's kind of like American rap with the East Coast, West Coast thing, except over there it was, I don't know, northern and southern Norway or Sweden. I don't know what the fuck was going on over there. It was a little too much. Like, let's just stick to making music and having concerts and leave the killing to the rappers.
Which are your favorite musical acts outside the metal area?
Well, you know, like I said, I like a lot of classical stuff. And, you know, sometimes you end up turning on the radio and there's some old classic songs that you like from the rock and roll era. You know, I grew up listening to a lot of music just with my mom on the radio from the 70s and 80s. And even then in the 70s, listening to my mom's and my uncle's records from the 60s and 50s, you know. So there's a huge swath of time, you know, hundreds of years of classical music, almost 100 years of rock music. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty to listen to. There's plenty to be fascinated with. You know I am. It's an incredible thing.
Which final message and greeting would you send to your Italian fans? And have you got any personal memories related to Italy?
Well, you know, like I said, my mother is Italian. Tetro, surname, her maiden name.
Oh.
And so I'm a little bit Italian myself. Grew up having gabagool and ziti. And I remember going to Italy the first few times. Was a very interesting trip. But we had one particular trip where I think it was summertime, and we flew over to Europe to just do a tour of Italy. I think we did a full week, and the following weekend it was 8 or 10 shows just in Italy. And we drove up and down the boot all week, and we didn't make it to Sicily for some reason, but man, that was a great trip. And like I said, we spent some time up in the north there, and like I said, in this beautiful area with lakes and mountains. We stayed at this beautiful bed and breakfast, and it was just beautiful. What a great week that was. I mean, we had such a great time, and like I say, Italy's amazing. And my mother's father was from Bari.
Oh,
down there on the hill there. And so we actually did a gig down there in Bari, and you know, hooked up with this chick, got laid. It was fucking amazing. What a great time. Italy is bella. You know, I learned a couple of Italian phrases that I hope to spring on people when I go over there, like "Where's the piscia do?" and "Mangia," "Basta," and you know, whatever I can think of to use in conversation, and I'm gonna do my best. Thank you very much. I appreciate you calling, and I can't wait to get to Italy, and you know, we're gonna have a great time. Hopefully everyone's digging the record over there. We're playing a lot of the new record, and of course we're gonna play a lot of classic stuff, so it's gonna be a great time.